What's going on, guys? It's Tony, Urban Girl Scout Media, living the dream as always, and coming to you with a good off the rails today. This one's titled Two Things That Bad Magic Players Complain About. So, the past couple of weeks, there's been two topics that resurface every so often in the Magic community, both in just local play groups, local game stores, but also, more importantly, online and social media groups. And the last couple weeks, these two things, which have always kind of been pet peeves of mine, are coming up yet again. So I'm going to jump right into it. Pretty straightforward. The first one is net decking. The second one is fixing the mana base. So I'm not going to leave too much to the imagination. I don't think that net decking's wrong, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with the mana system in the game of Magic the Gathering. So if you're not in the mood to listen to the whole rant, there you go. But if you're in the mood to listen to this, let's dance. So let's start with net decking. This always gets a lot of attention, and I kind of enjoy reading people's posts about these things, or hearing people talk about it, just how negative people talk around this thing, when I don't think people understand how we all kind of do this, but that's something I'll discuss in a second. What finally prompted me to do this one of the two topics in this video was because I saw Magic Historian's video, and that was so good. That was such a great video because he hits the nail on the head with a few things. First off, there's a lot of people who played Magic when you didn't have the option to see what was the most competitive decks out there. There were times where you just got fucking steamrolled with a harsh dick slap of reality that you thought you had something special. You couldn't really do much outside of your local play group, and guess what, bud? You're not special. Your deck isn't that good. So net decking has kind of addressed some of that in the new age, but also I think that he really made a great point when he said that people may not have such a big issue with net decking as with the lack of variety. But what kills me about net decking is that, just like in life, think about the NFL, for example. It is a copycat league where whatever works is generally going to be copied by a lot of other teams because it's so hard to succeed that anything that looks like it works is worth copying, right? Okay. So the same thing goes in business. The same thing goes in technology. When there's a trend, people copy it. They buy into it. I mean, I don't get it. Let's look at it like this. If you were about to go down the long path of trying to get into shape, you're really unhealthy and you're trying to get into shape, wouldn't you want someone to tell you the most efficient and consistent ways to get that success? Or wouldn't you want the option at least? That's kind of what net decking is. Now, the other thing that gets me about net decking is not only is it a way for people to find out what in each different format of Magic is working well, everybody does it. And I'm going to explain how. If you go online and you look at deck listings and you copy it verbatim, you are net decking. If you go online and you look at deck listings and you take anything but the entire list card for card, but you make anything similar to that list, you're sort of net decking. If you go online and you watch things like the Command Zone or other things like MTG Goldfish where they play actual games and you look at those decks and you think, man, that's kind of cool, I want to build that, that's sort of like net decking. And honestly, before the internet, when you watched other people stomp and beat up on weaker decks with higher quality, and you copied that, that was net decking. Net decking is not the problem. Players not being honest with themselves and addressing what really has them frustrated is the problem. And that brings us to the second issue that bad Magic players talk a lot about: fixing the mana base, fixing the mana system. So, there's all these great games out there, Hearthstone and Yu-Gi-Ohs and your Pokemons and your Magics and all this shit. And people talk a lot about, especially newer players that come into Magic from other games, how you could fix the mana system if you copied what these other games did. And it really just pisses me off, and here's why. First off, a lot of these games, actually, let's be clear, all these games are almost all derivative of Magic the Gathering. They would not be here if it was not for Magic the Gathering. So for us to step back and say Magic the Gathering needs to copy them, I think is a little bit of an insult, just me. Then let's take a look at the fact that the game's been around for so long and it's been played this way for so long. So there's another reason why we really don't necessarily need to fix it, because, well, 25 years of data say that the game is fine. The variance with your mana is part of it. That's the truth. Get used to it. You used to have to deal with it. You still have to deal with it. I think people complain about wanting to fix the mana system and talk about how there's got to be something better. They're the type of people that say they went through a game on hard and went through it on easy. There's no shame in going through a game on easy. But don't lie and say that you go through it on hard. And then when you get caught up, say that you need something to help level the playing field. The mana system is not the issue. Figuring out how to curve out your deck, how to deal with when you are flooded with mana versus screwed of mana, is part of the game. It always has been. If you really can't find a way to deal with it, get the fuck out. But these new Magic players, these young Magic players, these inexperienced Magic players who talk about that, what they really need to do is they need to take a few years, probably like 4 to 5 years. They need to play several different formats, invest into them, play several different events, and then come and talk to me about mana. Don't just play one-on-one online, because that's not real. That's not as real as having to sit down and play through the game when you can't just scoop, when you have to play it out. A lot of guys, I think they complain about the mana system because they can scoop when they're online and it's not going their way, and, well, when you're in person, it's a little bit tougher. I mean, it's not tougher, it just isn't done as much. So, that's it. I mean, those are the two big things I think bad Magic players focus on. They focus on, well, if I made a deck that could beat the meta, then do it. If you think you can make a deck that is better than what everyone else is playing, these decks that are statistically proven to be the most effective and efficient and consistent decks in those formats of those metas, then do it. Don't talk about it, be about it. And to people who think that the mana system is broke, needs addressed, needs fixed, go play Hearthstone or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or whatever the fuck else you say Magic should copy its game after, and just leave it the fuck alone. Thanks.